it's years and years of failures and stuff not working out. It is frustrating and it sucks, but we learn a lot from it. Real scientists, real entrepreneurs just push through it. That's what we signed up for.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Startup Storybook Podcast. I'm Daniel Pierce here with Turner Ray and Vincent Pham here, special guest today. And we're going to be talking about his business, lots of different things. He is a PhD candidate in cancer biology at the UT Health San Antonio. Lots of great things. Amazing guy. Vincent, thanks for joining us, bro.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, you guys. It's an honor to be on the podcast. This is actually my first podcast, so I'm excited.
There we go. So before we get into Powerhouse Therapeutics, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you got here.
Sure. Yeah. So born, raised Austin, Texas, or technically I was born in California, but I moved to Austin when I was 3. So I tell everybody that I'm born in Austin because don't really remember California otherwise. Grew up a little suburb north of Austin and went to undergrad at UT, Hook'em Horns. During undergrad, majored in bio, standard pre-med stack, I guess, and worked about 4 jobs actually to put myself through college and to have enough fun money on the side for everything else, all the fun stuff there is to do in Austin. So worked in 2 labs, worked in a hospital, and summers worked on my parents' ranch, wrangled cattle, built fences, the whole full stack. So sometimes I tell people I'm a retired cowboy.
Hey, well, there you go. That's why you got the cowboy hat on your LinkedIn profile.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I always have the cowboy hat on all my profile pictures. I think, it's a fun little moniker.
Yeah, it identifies you a little bit too.
Yep.
Keeps you
Personal branding right there.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So bio major, pre-med, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Knew I liked science. Thought medicine was kind of cool. And then started going through the whole deal. Worked in a lab as long as I worked in a hospital about that time. And the end of undergrad, couldn't really decide what I wanted to do. So applied to med school, applied to grad school, sat on offers from some of my top choice schools across both, and eventually obviously decided to go the grad school route. So here we are.
Yeah, there you go. So San Antonio called your name, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, San Antonio. I knew that I wanted to stay in Texas for grad school just because it's huge cancer hub, ton of innovation here, but also a lot of opportunity. Right. You go East Coast, West Coast, yes, it's great, very built up, but everybody's already taken the space, right? Why not build something in Texas?
Well, that's interesting because, we're not bio or cancer people, but I had no clue Texas was a cancer hub.
Yeah, no. So Texas, and by one of the amazing things that the Texas legislature did, I actually don't know how many years it's been, but they created the Cancer Prevention Research Institute of Texas, CPRIT. And through this mechanism, they award millions of dollars in grants. I think it's over a few $100 million now to date, or maybe even past that, of grant funding to both companies and to academic institutions. And what that did was pull in cancer research from all around the country, because now we have a mini NIH right here in the state of Texas.
That's awesome. So going through college, decide to come to UT Health in San Antonio. And where does Powerhouse start happening?
Yes. So we when I started in grad school, I joined Dr. Gong Huang's lab at UT Health, and traditionally, lab has always been a blood lab where we've studied a lot of the pre-leukemias, leukemia, along those kinds of lines, a lot of blood disorders and blood malignancies. But I joined and I told him hey, I want to do solid tumors in a blood lab. He was like, sure, let's do it, dude. And so we built up this program over a few years of cancer metabolism as well as cancer immunology. So studying how cancer cells interact with the body's metabolism and how the energy sort of flows between that, as well as looking at how the immune system interacts with cancer and some of the issues that perturb that. And really through a lot of the wet lab work, we eventually arrived at this really cool cell therapy, right? And so this cell therapy is a chimeric antigen receptor T cell therapy, and I'll back up a little bit and kind of break that down.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So CAR T cell therapy or chimeric antigen receptor T cell therapy, all it is T cells, which are your body's very specific killing cells, right? They're very good at killing something very specific. Typically, your T cells are used to kill infected cells. For example, when you have the cold, that little lag time, about like a week or two, that it takes for your body to get rid of everything, that's the time that it's using to, or it's waiting for the T cells to kind of get their act together, figure out like who the bad guy is, and go kill it. Right. And obviously it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's kind of the gist of it. So, but the T cells are great at killing things. So what we do is we will take the patient's T cells out of their body, and all that is through a tube in your blood, a tube in your vein, and you just same as donating blood or any other procedure like that. Take your T cells out. We will reprogram them in a very clean room facility under sterile conditions. We'll reprogram them with our special sauce, and all we do is we will add a receptor to your T cells that can teach your T cells like what the cancer looks like, as well as we'll add 2 proteins, and I'll get to those 2 proteins later. But after that, we'll do a little bit of lot release testing, make sure that the T cells are safe, they're sterile, they're all good to go, and then we'll return those T cells back to the patient. Once they're back into the patient, the T cells will go find the cancer. They'll start killing it. And what the edge of Powerhouse is we have 2 proteins as well that will reprogram the patient's immune system. So that was the CAR T technology has been around forever. At this point, like I think over 20 years by now, but it's taken a long time for it to move into solid cancers, and that's it's seen a ton of success with a lot of the leukemias, and there are amazing products out there for a lot of liquid tumors. Think blood cancers, especially B cell lymphomas. Those respond amazing to CAR T. But in solid tumors, we really haven't had too much of a breakthrough until recently. So, yeah.
And is that because, like, obviously you're taking T cells out of blood, and so since it's in the blood already, it's just quicker to get to the liquid cancer,
Yes,
essentially?
sir. Exactly. Yeah. So, you hit it right in the head, actually. So a lot of the blood cancers, it's easy for T cells to touch, right? Because they, at the end of the day, they have to touch the cancer in order to start killing. Whereas with solid tumors, right, think of it like
it's like hide and go seek in your body, kind of.
Yep, exactly. And it's also a very dense, like, bit of tissue, right? So even maybe the T cells were able to hit the outside of those tumors, but being able to really penetrate inside and get very deep killing of these tumors has been a huge challenge for the field.
So interesting.
And so what led you guys to developing this and not someone else?
So we so for the past probably 5-10 years, my mentor, Dr. Huang, has been working on some of these proteins that we ended up putting on the T cells. We found that these proteins are really able to reprogram how the immune system functions and how it sees cancer and other cells. Right. So at first, we actually looked at just straight injecting these proteins into a patient or a animal model as a drug. didn't work out so well. a lot of toxicity there, a lot of issues with that. So played around with the idea for a little bit, tried a ton of iterations, lots of failures, and eventually we landed on why not just express it on these CAR T cells, because these CAR T cells seem pretty good at finding the tumors. So if we just stick our proteins onto this CAR T cell, they can just bring it straight to the tumor, and we won't have any off-target effects or any toxicity. So we did that with the hope of perhaps just extending life a little bit, right? Of um, giving our mouse model. So we use a mouse model of liver cancer, giving our mice a little bit more time to live and controlling their tumors a little bit.
Mhm.
And so there was one day where we wanted to look at what was going on with these animals. So during the course of like the testing, right, we'll induce a tumor, we'll dose them with this cell therapy, and then we'll wait and see what happens. So we wanted to take a look at how much tumor was left and if the tumors are completely gone. So we took a look at one of the animals, and um, there was no tumor, but I just thought that we labeled it wrong. Right.
Mhm.
So checked the logs. Everything was right. Called up my tech. It's like, hey, did y'all just mess up the label? And they were like, no, like what do you mean? This is the right animal. I was like, there's no tumor left, guys. And then like, wow, that's nuts. And happened again, happened again, happened again.
So it's working.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly.
So it's working so much better than what we originally thought it would have done. And um, repeated this again, had our collaborators repeat it, and seems like it was rock solid. So then we founded Powerhouse Therapeutics, and it was off to the races.
So now are you trying to test it in humans?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So, the phase that we're in right now with this lead candidate. So our lead candidate, this drug that I just described to you, is designated. The designated name of it is PH102. We are right now for PH102. We are in what's called IND enabling. So, this is the phase where we've almost completed most of the preclinical studies, and now we need to put together the data package for an investigator new drug application to the FDA. And really, what that means is a little bit more testing to look at how well does it work or efficacy, and then a large chunk of the next steps after that will be toxicity. So we need to understand the full safety profile. What is the upper limit for what we can dose? What is the lower limit for it actually even working? That sort of deal. We'll try this in animal models, organoid models, really any models we can get our hands on until we're confident and we're able to show to the FDA and the other regulators that this therapy is safe. And then we can move into phase 1 trials.
So what does timeline look like on that?
Ooh, yeah, time is always a tough question, huh?
Yeah.
So, timeline for developing these cell therapies, anywhere from 2 to 3, if all the funding works out.
3 years.
Yes, sir. Yeah, 2 to 3 years if all the funding works out, or 5 to 6 years, just depending on experiments, the money flowing in, how fast things get done. But we really want to get to the clinic as soon as possible.
And so have y'all taken on investors already?
Yeah. So we actually have a round open right now,
Mhm.
Raising a little seed round, and have some good amount of interest. We have one investor committed, so we chugging along. Hopefully, we can leverage some of that capital, as well as we are actually also working on a lot of non-dilutive funding. So
Awesome.
yeah, we're trying to target NIH and CI and their SBIR, STTR grant mechanisms, and using federal funds as well to push us forward.
And so for everyone listening, the SBIR, STTR, or SuperSitter are essentially just funding mechanisms that the government has for, like it designates money to each different group and part of the government to give away to companies like Powerhouse that are doing cool things.
Like grants.
Grants,
Yeah.
essentially, yes. And it's non-dilutive, so no equity is taken. And I mean, that's awesome for y'all because
Yep.
you keep your hard-earned equity
Yes, sir.
and get the funding. And when you get a SuperSitter, it is it's telling to other investors like, okay, the government believes in this, so maybe I should believe in it too.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So the grant process, even though yes, at the end of the day, it is free money from the federal government, it is an extremely rigorous review process, right?
Yes.
So our grants put in front of panels of longtime experts in the field, very established scientists with very long resumes, and people that have done this many times over, right? And they're the ones that are picking apart your idea, your company, your technology, all of your data to make sure that you are as rock solid as you think you are.
Yeah.
So what would you say like the success rate is? Pretty
So
low? Yeah.
pretty low.
Yeah.
I'll say pretty low. The success rate changes a lot every year. Just really like the funding line changes a lot, just depending on NIH budget, the priorities of the NIH, as well as how many people apply and all of that. So it shifts a lot. But yeah, I think pretty low is a good representation.
I mean, you're doing some hard stuff with cancer research. I mean,
Hmm.
there's a reason the government is trying to put money into it because not one person is just going to go figure it out. I mean,
Yeah, no, of course. And it really takes a team, right?
yes.
So at Powerhouse, like we've built an amazing team. And we're still building an amazing team. I'm super proud of the people we have on board, both on the company side as well as the academic side, right? This is a academic spin out company. So luckily we have access to a lot of the resources at UT Health. So we have a ton of personnel on both sides of the equation.
That was one thing I wanted to ask about because obviously, what is your mentor's name again? Dr. Huang?
Huang.
Huang. Okay.
Is he your co-founder?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. 'Cause
Co-founder.
I was looking at the website that y'all have. Yeah.
We are getting a new website soon.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
It's cool. And so he's obviously a professor at UT Health. And so can you explain a little bit more about that spinoff that you just said, like how a company is spinning off of a university?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way that it works, so if you have tech that's developed at a academic institution, the academic institution owns the foundational intellectual property or the IP, right? So so how these deals work is the academic institution will lead the patenting. So in the case of any UT system institution, the patent is owned by the Board of Regents, and then the Board of Regents, through their respective universities, are able to license it back to the inventors, meaning myself and my co-founder, Dr. Huang.
Mm-hmm.
And through this process, the university will typically take a certain amount of equity or a certain stake in the company, as well as there'll be expected milestone payments depending on when you hit certain milestones. So, for example, like first in human dosing or phase 2 trials, so on and so forth, FDA approval. Like whenever you hit a milestone, you owe the university a tranche of capital, and then they will also take a little slice of the company. But I think it is a good relationship between company and university, because then it really aligns the interests of both, and then we're also able to access a lot of university resources to sort of incubate the company and drive it forward. Because, well, at the end of the day, cell therapy takes a ton of capital and a ton of infrastructure investment, right? So university already has that built up, so we can leverage some of that to get our candidate out.
Absolutely. And so it's you, Dr. Huang, and then you mentioned other employees. So is that more scientists? Is that students at UT Health helping all out? What is that?
All of the above, and we'll take anybody that wants to contribute and is mission driven, as has a good and aligns with our values. But yeah, the current team, we have our executive vice president of immunology is Angel Dominguez. He's also a current UT Health PhD student. Probably one of the best immunologists I've ever met. So he is really helping out with a lot of the cancer immunology side of things. And then, of course, we have a ton of technicians. So many more than I can name on the podcast, but a ton of technicians in house that are working with our animals, keeping everything going, generating the cell therapies, optimizing all of our protocols. And then, of course, we have advisors as well. So, very lucky to have a very strong cohort of advisors slash mentors that are teaching me a lot of the business side of things and operations and helping connect me to who I need to be connected to.
So that's one like huge positive of starting a business, like as a college student or even like graduate student. Would you, if you had to like give advice to an undergrad student, do you think they should start a business while being an undergrad or wait till they're a little bit further along like you? What would you think about that?
I think it depends on the tech, right? Like if you want to do a therapeutic, you should definitely wait until grad school. Like there's therapeutics are a little tricky and there's a lot of nuance there that honestly as an undergrad I did not really fully appreciate. But if you got a medical device, you got something cool, if it works, then why not? Just do it, right? Like the you as a student, people love helping you. At least most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? People like talking to you. People and you want to learn, so use that opportunity to learn. Use the resources that your university has to learn, and of course, as a student and founder as well, you also get access to a ton of programming and discounts, this and that traditional founders might not have access to. So I think there's definitely an advantage to starting a startup while you're a student. And obviously, there's a disadvantage of having to deal with classes, and maybe your startup will take off and you'll end up dropping out like some of the big tech guys. But at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do, right? Is grow a company.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like, so when we talked our first time,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned that you had the idea for Powerhouse about 3 years ago. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so was that when you were just starting graduate school, or was that in undergrad?
No, yeah. So that was just when I was starting graduate school.
Okay.
So one of the early on conversations with my mentor was that we wanted to push something to the clinic, right? Like he is a very established, a very tenured professor at this point, full professor at like the top of academia now, and he wanted to do something impactful, right? Because at the end of the day, though it's great as an academic when you publish papers, when you get that validation, you keep getting the grants, and you're doing something very important for science. But he wanted to directly push his tech to patients. And really, the only way to do that is through a business, right? Like, I think in the medical sciences a lot, we really emphasize this concept of bench to bedside, um, getting something from the lab bench to the patient's bedside. But I do want to challenge that and say that what it really is bench to business to bedside. Right. And this was a little concept I heard a few weeks ago at a conference at a Capital Factory in Austin, where they were talking about how do you get something that's a technology to patients, and you really need that commercialization interface to move something from an idea, a concept, to something that can be manufactured and scaled to patients.
And is that because when you're commercial, you have the funding and revenue coming in, or are there other factors that are helpful there?
Funding and revenue for sure, right? Like, I mean, you always need money to push anything out to patients, but on the commercial side, it's also a talent consideration. You want to bring in the best of the best, and at the end of the day, the best of the best to manufacture something, to take a technology and to something that can be applied to millions of people. That kind of thinking and that style of thinking is more coming from industry and pharma.
and not academia.
Yeah, exactly. Because as an academic, right, that's not how you think. The way you think as an academic is very much like dissecting a question, like very deep study of a single pathway or a single system, and trying to understand all the intricacies there. Whereas the only way to put something to a patient is to manufacture it, right? And to do that, it's just a different flavor of thinking, of
Yeah, a different
motivation.
approach
Yeah,
to the
different
same
approach.
issue,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you and your co-founder are kind of like two of the perfect people for this, because you have the obvious interest in biology and cancer research and the drive to do this, because we've talked about this multiple times on the podcast. Not everyone is maybe not built to be an entrepreneur, but it takes a lot of your time and effort, and it's a difficult thing to do. And so the fact that you have both of the interest and the effort, and then you met Dr. Huang, who is obviously very knowledgeable in this field, but has this unique interest of not only wanting it to be in academia. That seems like the perfect combination for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it was nice too. Like, I was able to bring in a little bit of business expertise. So, growing up, like with my parents, I did all their taxes. I was the guy that ran the ranch and the finances there.
Mhm.
So I brought in like a little bit of how the numbers all play out and how to build a good team. And then, yeah, obviously from his perspective, he's an amazing scientist and one of the leaders within um, his field, right? So really being able to combine that at the perfect time and bring everything together was amazing. And like you said as well, yes, not everybody is built to be an entrepreneur, right? It sucks. Like I don't like when people glorify it too much, right? Because yes, it's great. Like, don't get me wrong. I love being on podcasts with you guys. I love
Mhm.
speaking at conferences. I doing the networking thing. But at the end of the day, you do a lot of things that you don't want to do. Like, I don't want to stare at a balance sheet all day. I'd rather be doing science.
Well, that was one of my questions, because I feel like in my brain, a stereotype of like bio or some type of science founders is eventually they get a business co-founder or CEO to kind of manage that side, because they're so engrossed and don't really want to do the businessy side of it, right? Um, is that something that, I mean, obviously you've grown up doing that. Is that something you're thinking about in the future?
I think we'd like to bring on a strategy officer or a business officer to help with some of the management, but I think for my situation, I am the best as a CEO,
Yeah.
just because I see all the points where science interfaces with business and what we need to do to push this forward, as well as I think with cell therapies, really therapeutics in general. Drugs are a long shot, right? It's always a long shot. You're playing the lottery because most drugs fail. And I will admit that our drug could fail,
Yeah.
right? Like, that is totally possible. I don't think it will, but the um, with being we're trying to bring a drug to market, you need a very specific type of person at the helm that can see all the issues, knows how to mitigate things, and can bring together the MBAs with the PhDs
Right.
to talk and to make sure everybody's aligned to the same goals.
And is that something you think you learned through managing the ranch's finances and doing the taxes? Did you take any classes in school? How did you learn that skill?
Yeah. So I've actually never taken any business classes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Growing up, I'd always had to learn very quickly. Both my parents are immigrants from Vietnam. I'm first generation American. So it's been, so everything was very DIY, right? Like they gave me everything they could, but at the end of the day, like I still had to learn like how to go through what college admissions looks like, right? And then what all of these things look like. So growing up like that, very much of that self-starting mentality has really driven me to learn. And yes, doing the taxes, doing running the ranch, like helped a little bit with kind of the money side of things, but really it was my motivation to self-teach that brought me to where I am.
I think that's great because we've talked about this entrepreneurial mindset a lot. One of our former guests, her name is Savannah. She has a marketing firm that she started her freshman year of high school, and she just finished freshman year at Abilene Christian, and is doing what little over
She said she's
100,000
getting
in
close
revenue.
to 6 figures in
Wow,
revenue.
that's awesome.
She started it when she was 14.
Whoa.
I know.
Right. And her entire time growing up was just her dad is an entrepreneur. She's kind of just had that mindset. Similar with another one of our guests, they would sell Girl Scout cookies and sold like 3,000 boxes in a
Whoa.
summer or something crazy,
It's
right?
pretty good sales.
And so I think those just having that mindset is something that can't be taught in school. And so I think it's interesting
You
that
think
you
it's
said
something
that.
you're born with? You think it's just innate? You think it's a personality kind of thing?
I think it's both, right?
Yeah.
It's like I mean, we always talk nature versus nurture,
Yeah.
right? But yes, I do think that some people are born with it, but I think you can learn it too. Like I think it's really the sum of how everybody grew up and kind of the struggles that you had. You know, as like I grew up very poor as well. Like we didn't have that much, to be honest, but and what we had, we really had to stretch it, right? So that same mindset, bringing that into business, into startups, like trying to be scrappy, bring together all the resources that I could to accomplish the goal. It's the same mindset that I grew up with. So I think it's a combination of, yes, like some people are born with it, but also the circumstances that you grew up will also shape your eventual trajectory.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a bigger question. So, like, why cancer in the first place? Because there's so many diseases you could attack. And I feel like there's so many options. Like, why cancer? Why cancer research? Do you think there's ever going to be a cure to cancer? Or is it just um, sort of a more step by step, like, okay, let's really focus on these, like, let's focus on these tumors here and then like these cells here. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I'm really glad you asked that. Yeah, so
That's kind of a two-part question. I know.
yes.
Yeah.
So first, why cancer, and then will there ever be a
Sure.
cure? So why cancer? I always thought cancer was interesting to me. I don't have the standard, like, I guess, story about family member dying from cancer. I have had family members die from cancer, actually, but that's not really what drove me into the field. I think it was just my innate like curiosity for how cells work, right? Because at the end of the day, when you boil down cancer research, it is just cell biology. It's cells doing something that cells shouldn't be doing, right? Which is growing very quickly and taking up resources. So that always fascinated me. It's like all the machinery that has to go into that, all of the different things that go wrong or go right for cancer to occur, and then also how immune cells interact with that, right? So it really, I think, brings together a lot of different fields, and the field at this point has moved to where we can discover some cool drugs. So that brings me into, will there ever be a cure for cancer?
That's a big question.
That is a big question. Will there? I think there's two ways to answer this, right? Like, one, will there ever be a magic pill that you take that will eliminate your tumor? Probably not. Obviously, maybe in 100 years, if someone's listening to this in 100 years, like I might be wrong, and I hope that I am, but
That would be crazy.
that would be crazy. But as far as really sort of a cure, yes, I think it is possible. We're now, the cancer field as a whole is moving into immunotherapies. That's the class of therapy that Powerhouse Therapeutics works on. Immunotherapies at the end of the day it's just harnessing your immune system.
That's where you like train your own immune system to fight off the cancer cells, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we all have different approaches on how to do that. We all have different ideas about how it should work and how it shouldn't work and all of that. But I think immunotherapy is the closest we've gotten to a cure since surgery. So since cutting out the tumor, like literally just chopping off the tumor, this is the closest that we've gotten to a cure. Where if we can train your immune system to kill the tumor and then to keep all the tumor dead, then perhaps this can be some semblance of cure.
So if someone has an autoimmune condition, would your treatment, would you be able to use your treatment on them, or would their overactive immune system like just not like respond or respond too much? Does that complicate?
Yes,
Yeah.
it definitely does complicate. We're actually not quite sure how it'll react, but yeah, there is a possibility for extended side effects, right? So a lot autoimmune conditions, a lot of it is overactive immune system that's doing something it shouldn't be doing, right? So if we come in with our supercharger and turn on the immune system even more, of course, there's a chance that we can exacerbate some of the side effects that we're already anticipating. Right. So, a common side effect of a lot of immunotherapies, especially cell therapies, is a syndrome called cytokine release syndrome or CRS, where you just get a ton of cytokines being released, and these cytokines are just small proteins that stimulate the immune system even more. So then you kind of start getting this like cascade where patients have too much inflammation, and this can
Mm.
lead to some other issues. But we think that we can mitigate some of those. So hopefully the clinical trial will show that it works out.
Yeah. I feel like I'm just trying to understand all of this. And you're doing a great job of explaining it, but like it's extremely hard, which is why cancer is not solved, right?
Yeah, man, cancer sucks.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's there's a lot of things that we can't control, right? Like that's always the issue with studying cancer and or any biological system is you have a billion things that are happening inside a cell, right? Like however many proteins, different genes, all of this trying to play together. And when you try to pick out one of them and say that it does something, does it really do that, or is it because it's talking to somebody else? And then you start going on this rabbit hole of who's talking to who, and then um, and of course, like we understand it pretty well at this point, but there's still a long ways to go until we can really nail down all of these interactions at the cellular level.
And does it ever get frustrating?
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. Science in general. You fail so much more than you win. I can't even tell you how many times experiment doesn't work out, drug does nothing, the mice don't cooperate, um the I drop a flask of something on the ground and have to clean it up and have to spend a whole day fixing that. I trip, whatever, I spill something,
Yeah.
like science, at the end of the day, that's what science is. It's a lot of failure, but unfortunately, the field really only highlights the successes, right? Publications are only the wins. Her powerhouse, like all the data that we show and what I'm talking about, that's the win, right? That's the tip of the iceberg. All the stuff that's underwater, no one will ever see, but it's years and years of failures and stuff not working out. So it is frustrating, and it sucks, but I think we learn a lot from it, and the real scientists, the real entrepreneurs, like just push through it.
Yeah. And I feel like we focused a lot on the product, on the business side.
Mhm.
I heard you talk earlier about having values and making sure that your team members when they join are aligned with those. Can you talk a little bit about how about how you came up with those values and why those are important for you?
Sure. Yeah. So, being in, well, really any business, right? Like you always have, um, you always have the people that are here just to make a couple bucks, collect their salary, go home, which is fine, right? If that's all you want to do, that's all you want to do, and that's great. But that's not going to work out at a startup, right? In a startup, we have a very specific environment that we try to cultivate where everybody really works on everything, right? At the end of the day, my title doesn't really mean that much. All the titles don't mean that much in a startup. We're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to push the product out. We're trying to get funding. We're trying to keep the business afloat. And the people that sort of see that vision and really value pushing something to patients and actually saving lives, because at the end of the day, that's what we signed up for, right? As a scientist, you sign up for improving society, saving lives. So all of that. And I think are um there there's plenty of people that are not really aligned with that. And but what we look for is somebody who really wants to get this product out to patients, save lives now, right? Because at the end of the day, liver cancer sucks. Liver cancer is huge in Texas. I know people that have died from liver cancer, and there are no good options, but we can change that. So, somebody who really believes in that mission, somebody who wants to work their tail off, somebody that wants to um, get into the weeds of things with me, fail alongside me, but then win with me as well. That's who we want.
And that's why you would want to go work as for a startup too, right? Like if there's a scientist out there who is studying at UTSA and they're like, "Oh, Vincent's company is cool. I want to go do that." It's because you're doing these amazing things. It's because it's a small team and y'all are all working on the same thing, and it's not like there's this big corporate chain of command above you, right?
Heck yeah. Yeah. So with the startup, right? That's the only way. If you really want to be application layer, you want to do everything, you want to see everything. Yeah, this is the place to be. If you just want to collect a salary, which nothing wrong with, right? And then go to pharma, go to the big boys. At a startup, we're scrappy. Everybody does everything, and I'm a firm believer that the what's that saying? The shepherd should smell like his sheep, right? I'm a very firm believer of that. Like I'm in in the cell culture room, pipetting alongside all of my techs. I'm helping them with the animals. I'm analyzing the data. I'm cleaning up to help after them, just to help them out. They have a long day. Like, I'll clean up and I'll put stuff away for them. Like, we're all a very close knit team.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned big pharma. What's the relationship between like small, like smart startups and, this like biotech space that you're in and like big pharma? Is there sort of a sentiment between you guys? Is there sort of like, how do you guys see them? How do they see you? Because you guys can do things like way faster than they can. Do they dislike you guys, or is there like, what's the relationship?
So no, I think we're very complementary, right? Like one of the strategies that pharma uses to get research done is to find startups that are doing cool stuff and acquire them, right? The With pharma, they have immense resources, crazy expertise, the best in the world. At the helm, and the best of the best at the benches and all of that. And they are great at in churning their programs, right? So they're programmed for a certain drug or a certain target. They are very, very good at getting something to the clinic as capital efficient as possible, and then saving millions of lives with that. But when you're talking moving into doing something very new, the most cutting edge emerging technologies, those are only in startups. That sort of research is too risky and um, too fast and too pivoty, I guess, for big pharma. And so in the startup world, right, we do the crazy things. We um, innovate, we push through, we pivot at every turn. When something doesn't work, you change direction and then you keep pushing. And that once we get to a product that's de-risked, typically we will partner with pharma, right? Because at a certain point, resources that a startup can muster will not be enough to get to FDA approval. So at that point, that's when pharma might step in with an acquisition, or they might step in just as a strategic partner and help you get to the clinic and get your drug out there.
So it seems like in this space, getting acquired is almost required to get approved by the FDA, almost?
Almost.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah. Because with the amount of capital that it takes to do a true phase 3 trial, like a big multi-center national clinical trial that gets the FDA stamp of approval, that that is difficult for all starters. I won't say impossible. There's plenty of guys that are doing it, and I hats off to them. And obviously, I am more than happy to do it with the capital and the resources. But yeah, it's at that point, it's usually better if pharma steps in.
How much would that cost? Like just ballpark?
Ooh, ballpark to take a drug to market is some in the neighborhood of probably over $1 billion to get a drug fully FDA approved, and that number is going up every day.
Yeah. And so obviously that's your goal with Powerhouse.
Oh yeah. So we'd love to get acquired. We'd love to partner with pharma. We'd love to get a drug to market. Even I'm open to everything, and that's I think the beauty of therapeutics, right? We can whatever me and my whole team, we are down for whatever works to get this to patients, because we do this as a way. The whole reason that we're doing this, right? We want to get something out to patients. We want to cure liver cancer. Will we cure liver cancer? Maybe, maybe not. But we'll certainly make a dent in the amount of people that are dying from liver cancer.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter to me how it gets to the market, as long as it gets there.
Absolutely. Are you paying yourself yet?
Nope. Well, barely, but I mean, like we're running as capital efficient as possible.
Yeah.
Like I rather pay consultants and everybody else. But yeah, I mean, just enough to keep the lights on, I
Sure.
guess.
And so you're about to do you're starting to do your dissertation, right?
Well, yeah. So dissertation started a while back. So chugging along well. So hopefully try to graduate ASAP. But
Yep.
the funny thing is my dissertation is completely uncoupled from the company.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Really?
I'm doing a completely different topic. Yeah. So that's where cancer metabolism comes in. So what I'm studying is cancer associated cachexia, or weight loss that's associated with advanced tumors.
Okay.
Everybody knows cancer patients lose weight. We want to know why they lose weight. There's a lot of good work out there of what people think is happening. And a few companies, Pfizer namely, has a cool drug in clinical trials right now, but there's nothing FDA approved. So we'd like to sort of push that a little bit, and perhaps make a dent in cancer-associated weight loss.
Wow. So you're like doing two completely different things. They're not related at all?
They're not related at all.
Wow.
So yeah, it's fun though. I get to do a lot of learning, and
Yeah.
I think that's where it's nice to be a grad student. Is that you can sort of explore a lot of different things. But no, yeah, I'm doing completely different projects, company and then academic. We did this on purpose to sort of air gap everything. But no, this would not be possible without my amazing team. So I have amazing team of 7 people in the academic lab that help me every day to push forward both of these amazing projects.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm guessing you'll stick with them once you finish your PhD and are out of UT. health. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah, of course, and of course, company and team will grow with the needs and with the stage that we're at right now. A lot of the need is just in the lab, so we have a lot of wet lab technicians, but eventually the needs will move to clinical. So I'll need people for that. It's just um, Evan, we're just yeah, it's just moving forward with the best people for the job.
So, kind of moving into from the college student perspective, what is a piece of advice that you would give to a college student who wants to start something medical or has this idea for a drink company like your Weird Tea? And I'm not calling his tea weird. He has a can
No,
that
it is
says
called
it is called Weird
Weird
Tea.
Tea.
It looks pretty cool, but either idea, right?
Yep.
What advice do you have?
Huh. What advice do I have? Talk to people. I think people are more willing to help, I found, than you initially thought. Maybe that's just me and maybe I'm a little jaded, but I found that just talking to people, like really a lot of people are more than willing to help. And then I guess like this also might be a decent segue over to one of the other hats that I wear as so I work with and alongside Nucleate.
Mhm.
Nucleate, we are a 501c3 nonprofit that is global, chapters in most countries, actually, at this point, and affiliated with the vast majority of the research universities in the United States. What we do is we help students start companies. That's as simple as that. It is a free program, free of equity. We don't take any equity. We don't charge any fees. We all of our programming is free and open to all. Our conferences are free, and the whole point of it is to help student founders push their cool ideas out. We're mostly run by graduate students, but we also have a ton of undergrads on the volunteer staff as well. We have a presence in most of the major universities, and we're expanding every day. And the flagship program, actually, for especially for students that want to start their own companies, is called the Activator. What the Activator does is we will take you in with your tech. We will help you find co-founders, or match you with really whoever you need, and bring in mentors for you as well. And again, this whole process is free. We don't enforce anything. There's no equity taken. You keep your IP, you keep your everything. Um, you come into the program, we'll take you through a series of workshops that will let you work on your tech, really think deep about some of the questions that need to be answered as you're forming a company. All right. And then at the end, we'll have you pitch at what we call demo day. So every chapter will have a demo day in Texas um, that happened in late May, and in San Antonio. We This year was San Antonio, but next year who knows where it'll be.
Yeah.
But it happened in San Antonio. We had about 300 people show up, flew in a bunch of investors, CEOs from around the country, and you just get to hang out with everybody.
I mean, you were telling us about this event just before we started, and it seems like an amazing opportunity for someone who is wanting to start something because you're getting all this help for free, which is great to start. And then you're getting the opportunity to pitch in front of these investors across the nation and get your idea out there. I mean, that's invaluable for a college student and a startup.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's really what we're trying to create, right? We don't want to impose like fees onto you as a student. The conference itself is free as well. And so then now that begs the question, like, how are you paying for all
Yeah.
this? Right?
Yes.
So we have some amazing sponsors from around the country as well as locally. Every chapter has their own sponsors, and all these sponsors like uh, will help us fly in all these people, as well as actually bring in all the students. So we house all the students. So we have, for example, some amazing teams from Dallas that came down to pitch and open an Airbnb, set them up with vouchers for everything. So they were all taken care of.
Yeah, that's great. So how did you get involved?
So Nucleate itself has been chugging along for quite a while now. I believe it was formed 2018, 2019 out of Harvard.
Okay.
It's grown ever since, but this is actually the first year that it's been in San Antonio. So our amazing founding co-managing directors of Nucleate San Antonio chapter, Palomi Modi and Shiva Kazampur, both of them decided to build this this in San Antonio and bring Demo Day, our big conference here. So when they approached me and told me about the program and all of that, I was like, heck yeah, I'm in. Like, why not? Because I think as a student founder, I am more than intimately familiar with how difficult it is to even incorporate, right? Like step zero of being a founder is to incorporate, right? And even getting to that point to where, like, what do all these documents mean? What is a C corp? What is an LLC? Right? Like, by small things like that, we some things like that are so difficult as a student to try to grasp while you're trying to do the science as well. So I think as soon as I was approached about this program, I was down to do it, and luckily I got to function as San Antonio's head of strategy and Texas's deputy director.
That's awesome.
And yeah, thank you. Yeah, and we pulled off probably one of the I might get in trouble for saying this, one of the biggest demo days that's ever happened for all of Nucleate, and we managed to film it as well. So we had 12 4K broadcast cameras pointed at the stage, and I told my technical team that I wanted this to look like a TED Talk, and they delivered.
How many students were involved or pitched?
So we had 6 teams that pitched, 6 amazing teams from all around Texas. And we, so 6 teams that pitched, but the whole effort from leadership, from Nucleate leadership, putting all this together, to our technical team, to everybody, was probably over 30, 40 people to build this conference.
Wow. That's crazy. We'll definitely put Nucleate links in the bio. We'll do to Nucleate.
That's a great resource.
And then we'll put the video up of the conference. That'd be great.
Oh yeah. No. And then for everybody that's listening, y'all are more than welcome to reach out to me about it. Yeah. Like, happy to connect to the right people and get you into the program.
Absolutely. It'd be cool if we got some podcast listeners to go.
No, that's a real resource that, like, we have a lot of friends who would really benefit from that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, as you're gonna graduate from graduate school, obviously doing this full time, but you have to make a living too.
Oh yeah.
What's your plan going into the future?
Get enough funding to make a living.
Right.
That's
you know how much that is, or
I mean,
or just
it was San Antonio, Austin, not too bad. Like, I like to stick between San Antonio and Austin. Austin's my home, but San Antonio is where this all launched, right? So in there, I mean, it's not too bad. Like, I'll pay myself just enough to keep the lights on, nothing too crazy.
Right.
Luckily, I think I'm in a pretty good spot with everything, so shouldn't be too much of a burden. But yeah, the goal is to grow the startup, and like we want to get this out to patients, but and the opportunity is there. I think we have cancer centers signed on. We have manufacturing almost nailed down. So the traction is there. So I'm very optimistic that after I graduate, I'll just be able to build this full time alongside my team.
How difficult is it to pitch to investors or do these applications for non-dilutive funding through the government or grants? Or
Ooh, okay, 2-part question. Then investors, it's fun, I think.
Okay.
I don't like yeah, at the end of the day, you have to remember they're people too.
Yes.
And I think training as a graduate student, especially, has really prepared me to pitch in front of investors because as a graduate student, I get told why I'm wrong almost every other day,
Sure.
right? And but that's a good thing. That's how you grow, right? And
Yes.
that's why I have a bunch of amazing faculty around me, behind me, telling me what to do, what not to do. And so on the investor side, it's exactly the same thing. It's just different stakes, right? Like on a different game. But at the end of the day, they're people too. They are experts in their field, yes, but you are an expert in your field. And I think as a founder, not a lot of people might realize that you might be at the top of your very specific little niche that you created. And so I think for advice for pitching in front of investors, be the subject matter expert, be educated, and teach, as well as show them why you're cool. But at the same time, don't be arrogant, right? Like be receptive to feedback, be coachable. That's one of the biggest things that they look for.
Seems like a real balance, like between sort of being an expert, or at least coming off as an expert, but not being like a total cocky jerk about it,
Yes.
and still being down to earth, relational, and like coachable,
Yep.
like you said. Because I'm sure there's lots of people who are on either sides of the spectrum, and they just it doesn't work out for them. Yeah.
So I think that's really the balance you need to strike as a CEO. Because at the end of the day, the startup CEO, really the only difference between you and everybody else is that you're the one that's sort of good at pitching.
Right.
Otherwise, like I said, you're just doing, everyone's doing the same deal, right? Everyone's in the lab working on the product. But yeah, as a CEO, you need to be good at pitching, and you need to be able to communicate to investors that you are the right person to do this, but at the same time, you are open to learning and you are open to improving, because even though you might be the subject matter expert in your little niche, a lot of these guys have seen hundreds of subject matter experts before, right? They know what it takes to get something to market, to become profitable, or to build a company. So take their advice and learn the things that you don't know, but also know what you do know, I guess.
So that's good. What makes a good pitch?
Ooh, what makes a good pitch?
What do investors like to see?
A story.
Yeah.
I think you need to. I think you need to tell a story, and I think that's one of the most difficult parts of a pitch. Because on one side of the equation, it's easy to put your cool data on a slide and your numbers, a bunch of headshots on a slide, and call that a pitch deck. And yeah, that is a pitch deck, right? Like you're communicating about the company and you're teaching them about your company. But I think really telling a compelling story about what is the need, like why are you doing this? That is really something that engages people and gets them to get you another meeting. Because these investors, they see like, I don't even know, like hundreds of pitches a month, even, right? Some of the bigger VC firms see hundreds of pitches a month, maybe, and if if you go in there and they don't remember you, then they don't remember you. And the goal is always to get another meeting, right? And I think that's something that I learned early on, and I want to impress on people that are seeking investors is to just try to get another meeting. Like if you go in there looking for a check, you'll never get it. You go in there, get another meeting with their people above them, get another meeting with the people above them, get another meeting with their subject matter experts that they trust. And then that is how you build that relationship.
And you get that next meeting based on credibility, based on your story.
Yep, exactly.
Rather than a bunch of numbers and headshots on your pitch deck.
Yeah, of course. Because especially with early stage startups, right? Like early stage startups, a lot of the numbers, like some of the traction, some of the data, like might not mean too much, right? Because you're changing every day. It's if they believe in you and believe in the story or not. If you show them like one flashy piece of data, yeah, it's great, but you might be going in a different direction tomorrow.
Right. And that goes back to what you were saying about investors are people too, right? Like whenever you go into a room or these networking events and meet people, normally the person that you remember is the unique story or the person wearing a cowboy hat
Yep.
or the person who's 6'5". Like I've had lots of people who remember me just because I'm tall, and they're like, "Oh, you're that tall guy. What do you do?" And it's like, sure, that's like they don't remember what it was, but it's something different, differentiating you, and that's what people are going to remember.
Yep. Yeah. Always. I tell people just be the weirdo. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares?
Absolutely.
Who cares if you're weird?
Yeah.
That's true.
They'll remember you.
Stand out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess like I do want to circle back to your question on like non-dilutive funding, that sort
Yes.
of deal. So the grant writing process for and I'm really speaking for the NIH process.
Mhm.
Obviously that we're very aligned with the National Institutes of Health and the National Cancer Institute, so that's who we apply it to.
Yeah, and that's how we got your SIBR.
Yep, exactly. But the process, yeah, it's long and it's tedious, man. Like I have some. I was lucky enough that a very good friend of mine, Elise, she works for this amazing grant writing firm that was able to push out SBIR, STTR grants. So we were able to work with her and her team over there to sort of build our grant and help us package our data properly. But unfortunately, the process it's long. It's very onerous. There are many documents that I had no idea that we needed.
Yeah.
Right. Like I wish it was as straightforward as the science and the business plan, but that's the tip of the iceberg. Right. And obviously those are the most important parts of the grant, but there are about 100 other things that need to be in there in order for federal government to even take a look at what you wrote.
Yeah. And do you think that those 100 things, not getting political or anything, are like, do you think that this process being so long and complex is a good thing from the founder perspective, or is it maybe pushing people away from innovating?
I definitely think it's too onerous, and I think I won't speak for all founders, but I think most founders would agree with me in that um, some of the documents that NIH asks for might not be super necessary for grant making, or can be done afterwards. If let's say if they like your science, if they like your business plan, if they like your team, they and they decide like, hey, we might want to fund you. Then at that point, maybe coming back with some of like the supporting documents or some of the other this and that might be a better solution and might reduce some of the paperwork even than getting everything up front.
Right.
And I think this as an academic and as an academic by training, I'm pretty good at writing grants, I think, and I've been trained on how to write grants and how to piece all this together. And it was still like a huge pain for me to submit these applications, right? So
Yeah.
even and that's with help from an amazing firm, an amazing consulting firm. So somebody who's maybe had less academic training than myself having to put something like this together, yeah, I couldn't even imagine like how onerous that is for some other founders that might not have gone through grad school and learned how to write and all of that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think NIH definitely could use some paperwork reduction,
Sure.
maybe, just to put it lightly.
Yeah. And the other thing to think about there is like, you don't apply for just one,
Yep.
right? I mean, you apply for multiple and hope you get one.
Yes,
So
exactly. Yeah, success rate is super low, but yeah, we try. We'll always apply for a ton, right? Because there's a lot of work to be done. Drugs don't get to market with the money that I have in my bank account.
As you said earlier, $1 billion. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sitting on $1 billion.
No. That's funny.
definitely. Well,
What else is there to talk about? I'm trying to think.
I mean, we could keep going forever. I feel like I still have so many questions.
Go for it.
on the business side, what is the hardest thing you've had to learn running the business? All this cancer research is plenty hard enough, but being a academic and science background, what was the most difficult thing there?
I think it was learning how to talk to the right people and how to find people. As like I've always been pretty um extroverted, I think, in
Mhm.
college and to now to like love talking to people, love learning about people's stories. But the level that I needed to get to as to be a CEO and to um piece together not only the team, like my in-house team, but consultants,
Mhm.
investors, attorneys, everything that we needed. It was just a different level of talking, right? And I think that was honestly like it was difficult to learn like how to piece together all these people because all it's everybody's very smart, right? Like all these people are amazing, but they're not cancer scientists like me, right? And I think this was a lesson that or this is a piece of advice that was given to me by actually by Dr. Lyle Hood at UTSA, where he told me like, listen, Vincent, everybody that you talk to is extremely smart, but they're not cancer scientists. So you need to convince them why your thing is cool, and why they should spend their very valuable time helping you.
Mhm.
Um, and that was I think that was one of the growing pains for me is as a scientist, talking to other scientists, it's easy to convince them why it's cool. We all think that all science is cool.
Right.
I love science, right? Like I'll talk to like everybody down the hall all day about what they're doing, and I think it's awesome. But going up to somebody who's not in this world and teaching them and then showing them like this is why we're gonna change liver cancer forever is a completely different way of talking, of thinking, of communicating.
And do you have any specifics or tips that you had to use and learn to do that?
Um, honestly, I wish there was a silver bullet, right? Like
Yeah.
that would be great. Like
Yeah.
if I had like one piece of advice that like blows it out of the water, but honestly, talk to people. Go to as many conferences as you can afford and that you can get and that you have time for. Right? Like I think that's one of the biggest things that helps me was that I just got a ton of exposure, like very, very quick iteration of talking about my technology and talking about the company to everybody. Because at a conference, you never know who you'll run into,
Yeah.
right? You might could be in the elevator with a billionaire, or and then you're talking to lawyers, talking to students, you're talking to investors, you're talking to other scientists. Um, and that kind of code switching where I'm um, changing up how I talk about something with all these people, that has really taught me how to how to pitch, but also how to just how to find cool people that can help me
And how
out.
to get buy-in from them. That's really what you're
Yep.
saying. Yeah, just
Hmm.
getting them bought in on your mission
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, getting
and tailoring it
yeah.
for them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And finding their values, getting them to believe that we will um, change the face of liver cancer forever.
Well, and this goes back to what you were saying about investors as well. Like again, they're people that want something interesting and something they can buy into. And I think the more and more we have these conversations, Daniel, I'm kind of realizing that like everything in startup world and in life like can be overcomplicated a lot. And if you kind of just remember you're dealing with people and being the most interesting, clear, and kind person you can be in your communication, in your leadership, in your execution, I mean, in general, it'll kind of work out.
I'll throw in genuine as
Yeah,
well.
Genuine.
absolutely.
I think that's a lot. I think being in this field, like everybody, you kind of have you're pretty good at detecting if somebody's really genuine, really believes in their own company, or is just there to make a couple bucks.
Right.
Right. And yeah, a genuine founder who's passionate, and if you can show them that you believe in this, um and that you genuinely think that you can change medicine forever, I think that is who a lot of people in this space are looking for.
It's
And
really like self-belief and really just sort of believing in yourself. So do you think that investors invest more in ideas or the actual founders?
Oh no, founders every time.
Founders every time.
Hundred
That's what
percent.
we're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, because you never like the idea is great, and the technology. At the end of the day, yeah, startups. If the tech sucks, startup sucks, but um but the founders are where where the rubber meets the road, right? Like these are what your startup can change any day. You could go tomorrow, you could go in a completely different direction, and the investor still invested in you, right? But they invested in you, because they believe in you, and they believe that you can build something that the market will be receptive to.
because you don't have anything physical
Yep.
at the point of
It's
investment.
almost like you're pitching yourself more than your actual idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I always say too, like the team every time is so important. It's not because it's not just you that they're investing in, right? They're investing in the people, your co-founders, people that decided to go on this crazy venture with you. They're also investing in all the people that you hired, right? As the people that are helping you push this, and they're investing in your board, your advisory board, your board, whatever. They're buying into all of these people because um, when when you decide to invest in a company, even when the federal government decides to fund a company's project, it's really that whoever the funder is deciding that this team is the right people to push this technology and to change the world.
Yeah. I love how continuous you are with your mission. On your website, it says, "We are passionate about science and dedicated to patients, science and patients being highlighted, and creating life changing therapies that improve outcomes for those battling the deadliest chronic diseases and cancers." And you have said something very similar to that multiple times throughout this podcast. And I think that's a very good representation of a quality founder and
Thank
someone
you.
who is being genuine, to your point. Because as an investor, if you're hearing someone who's maybe saying buzzwords, and like you said, you can tell if someone's not genuine and fully bought in. And I think it's definitely very clear. So it's very cool to see that you have that continuity in everything you're doing, and I think that's going to end up being proof of your success.
Yeah,
So
thank you. No, yeah, I appreciate that. And
yeah,
no, I mean, yeah, I would take my own therapy. Like, I would bet my life if I had liver cancer
yeah,
on my own therapy.
absolutely.
So, and uh, it's also, especially in medicine, right? Like, who knows who might be my clinical trial patients? It could be someone in my family with liver cancer.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? Like, so, yeah, I believe that it works. I know that it works, and we're gonna get it to the clinic.
Yeah, that's great.
That's inspiring.
Mm.
It's great stuff.
Thank you. Yeah,
For sure.
Well, any last
Is there anything else?
any last piece of wisdom that you would give
To college entrepreneurs.
right? Because
Because they're the ones, that's our audience basically.
I mean
18 to 22-year-old college students and their parents.
it's extremely impressive that you're doing this at in graduate school, and you're probably mid-20s.
25.
You're 25.
Exactly, mid-20s. So
Yeah.
it's crazy to think that people our age are able to do that type of thing.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah. So I guess last pieces of advice. Just do it. Like,
Yep.
who cares? Who cares if it fails? Like, that's what I think a lot of people. I think there's a lot of cool tech sitting in somebody's garage
Yep.
or on a napkin, in somebody's bedroom, right? Like you wrote something down, you maybe prototyped a little thing in your garage. Just do it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, because I think that's the beauty of startups, right? The downside is it doesn't work, and then you go back to your day job anyway. Or you keep doing whatever. You keep going to school, you keep doing your thing, and you don't lose anything. But the upside is you change the world, save some lives, maybe, or even just completely change the face of how people interact with each other, interact with the world, or make something more accessible for somebody. Because I mean, honestly, if you can change one person's life for the better, and then it was all worth it.
And now's the time to do it, because like we've mentioned a million times, we're sure you have classes and tests, but those are non-consequential in the long run.
Yep.
And not married, no kids,
Yep.
not even a full-time job.
And you're young, you're energetic.
Right.
And yeah, I will say too, in college, I was so stressed out about classes, man.
Sure. Yeah.
Exams and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never had to pull up my GPA or my transcript since graduating.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah, it matters when you're graduating, you're trying to compete for scholarships. I get it. But after that, nobody cares. Nobody even knows. Nobody can even asked me what I majored in at UT. So, yeah, I think as a college student, sometimes you can get too dug in to the tiny little thing that classes. I failed this one exam, whatever, but it's not a big deal. Like if you have some cool tech, you want to do a company, just do it. Talk to people. Get plugged into Nucleate. Come talk to me. I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we do put a major emphasis on that on our podcast. It's like encouraging like young college entrepreneurs to just like start, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's called a startup, not an end up.
Yep.
For a reason. So,
and if you knew what you were doing, you'd be CEO of Apple. You'd be CEO of J&J. You know, like you'd be one of the big boys already. But I think that's the beauty of student startups. You have no idea what you're doing, like, and it's fun. You can learn along the way, and be scrappy, figure it out, and be coachable.
Absolutely. Well, if anyone wants to learn a little bit more about Powerhouse, go to their website. They have some really interesting information describing it, and then some white pages and pitch decks on there kind of showing you what they're doing. So we'll link all of that, and
website,
you can go check it out.
LinkedIn, it'll be in the description.
Absolutely, for Vincent, and then Nucleate as well. So
yes,
thanks for joining us, dude.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on a podcast with y'all. Like
absolutely.
this has been super fun, and to all the listeners as well. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Like I love talking to people. I love helping out fellow students. So I more than welcome any messages, connects.
Awesome.
Sure.
Want to wrap this up?
Appreciate it. Yeah, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Go check out Vincent on all the links below. LinkedIn, website, all that. Yeah.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, man. Awesome.